So coming up this afternoon, Ghana's total debt stock reaches 742 billion cedis at the end of June, but managers of the economy link it to significant spike in cedi depreciation over the period. My name is Darrell Kwao. Thanks for being with us this afternoon. Details coming up. Thanks for staying with us, everyone. First up, the Finance Minister, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, has announced a 7 billion Ghana cedi cut in government expenditure for this year. This is part of several expenditure rationalization measures announced in the mid-year budget review presented to Parliament. There's more in the following report.
Addressing Parliament, Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam noted that this was due to the revision of interest payments by almost 8 billion cedis to reflect external debt restructuring deals closed by government. The minister also announced some expenditure control measures, which includes implementing sanctions for government agencies that fail to comply with the Public Financial Management Act. Government is also working to ensure that public sector payments are all channeled through its online platform, ghana.gov, to help track all payments. The minister is also looking at stock-taking exercise and prioritization of all projects in the country. It is also looking at reducing the budget deficit by almost 8 billion cedis to 42.5 billion cedis. On the revenue side, the government is also working out some fresh measures that the Ghana Revenue Authority will be implementing to ensure that it is able to meet the revised revenue of 176 billion cedis by the end of this year. The Ministry of Finance also revised almost all the macroeconomic targets for this year, as it hopes to end the year with a growth rate target of 3.1%. However, government kept the end-of-year inflation target at 15%.
Meanwhile, government has justified the expenditure rationalization measures and spending cuts announced in the mid-year budget review. It follows criticisms that these cuts are not enough to help contain Ghana's rising debt stock. But Chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee, Patrick Boama, disagrees with that. He has been speaking with my colleague, George Afe.
I believe it was an honest presentation by the Minister of Finance with regards to what the country has gone through between 2020 to date, especially coming out of COVID, and especially government signing up to the IMF program. You were talking about expenditure. If you listened carefully, you would have realized or noticed that there was a bold statement by the minister with regards to the reduction in appropriation. In 2023, in the 2023 budget, the appropriation was about 259 billion and over. If you look at the statement today, he's reduced it to 237, in line with the measures that government is supposed to achieve in line with the IMF program. That is very significant. I think that's a saving of about 22 billion. I think 259 minus 237 is thereabout. It's very significant. It tells you about government's prudence in ensuring that we are back on track as a country. Secondly, you realize that government is reinstating the fiscal rules, which were suspended in 2020 because of the COVID program. And you know that under that rule, we're not supposed to borrow more than 5% of our overall deficit. And that is very significant because it brings a check on government expenditure and borrowing. And you realize that before we went into the COVID challenges, we were always staying within that range and even below 1%. Now that we've gone back, it means government will always have to stay below the 5% rule, and which is very significant.
I don't know with respect to the reforms that are taking place in Parliament now and the role that you'll be playing going into, again, an election year that has been our biggest hunt or fear about maintaining fiscal prudence, and what role will the Finance Committee play to ensure that we restrain spending and stick to things that have been approved and captured in the budget?
Thank you very much. That's a very good question from you, my brother. You realize that because of some of these challenges, Parliament, in its wisdom, through the new rules of the House, has set up a budget committee. So that budget committee will have that oversight and ensure that we stay within our budgetary limits and even reduce expenditure. The Finance Committee will complement them, but the overall basis will be to ensure that we stay within our budget numbers.
Do you think that there's another bit about signaling confidence to the development partners, the creditors, and even within the business community as well? Do you think that this statement that he has laid before the House is addressing those critical concerns?
I believe so, because the business community wants to see a government or the Minister of Finance streamlining a lot of waste in the system, let me put it that way. They also want to see some discipline within all sectors of the economy. Number three, the business community always, and especially the financial sector, needed to hear from government what government was doing with regards to financial stability. That is the reason why government is introducing a new arrangement with the IMF and World Bank to put in place $250 million to augment the budgetary provision of about $500 million for the Ghana Financial Stability Fund, which is a signal to benefit the financial sector and to bring back real action within the financial space. Because most of the banks suffered during this COVID period. They also suffered during the debt restructuring program. And government made a promise to set up that fund to shore up their activities.
So for you again, just to try and wrap up, for a lot of people out there, they are afraid that there will be an overrun. Do you think that we should be rest assured that there's no cause for alarm?
I believe so. I believe there wouldn't be an overrun because the minister didn't come for any supplementary estimates. Number two, the minister will want to get the blessing of the official creditor committees, our bilateral debtors, the commercial lenders, and also our Eurobond holders. We want to see that we've put in place the right mechanisms to ensure that their payments are achieved. You realize that government, through the negotiations it had with the bilateral creditors, the Eurobond holders, has made a lot of savings in terms of debt servicing and also debt cancellation. That, in effect, from the statement, will take us to about 55% of debt to GDP. So no government worth its salt will want to derail such a progress.
My colleague George Raff is speaking extensively to Chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee, Patrick Boamath. Join us on Zoom to talk about this a bit further is Professor Williams Bepra, who is Associate Professor of Finance at the Andrews University. So, I mean, you had the Chairman of the Parliament's Finance Committee there. I just want your thoughts, first of all, on government's plans to cut expenditure by 7 billion cedis.
Daryl, good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your viewers. This 7 billion cedis cut, if you ask me, is insignificant to make any major impact. So our budget deficit is 61.9 billion Ghana cedis. Taking out the 7 billion gives us the 54.9 billion. That is what the minister said they'll be borrowing in the half year. So this 7 billion is less than 1% of our GDP. Indeed, it will not make any major impact. What we would have expected is about a 50% cut in expenditure to bring our deficit to about 30 billion Ghana cedis, but this is not realized. So really, I mean, government have tried, but this is not anything. And if you really do the analysis, this is only the deferred interest payment option or that has been captured here. The minister did not do anything to the budget that was read in last year November. They are just following their plan. This 7 billion, as if they mention it, is as a result of the interest that they got the deferment on. And in such a case, we cannot be rejoicing. So it doesn't give us a clearer picture whether government indeed is interested in expenditure cuts. Expenditure cuts should be expenditure cuts, not just relying on something that you have gained from not paying your interest.
Well, we had the chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee try to justify the cuts, and as you've indicated, this is insignificant. You started talking a bit about what the government should have done. So where else could they have looked at to cut down on expenditure?
I mean, so this 61.9 billion, which we are looking at, majority is the capex project we are doing, the Agenda 111, and some of the major road construction ongoing. These are the major ones. If you ask me, we should find a way to prioritize them and then also defer some of the projects to give room for this major expenditure cut. It is good Ghana needs development. We may have to grow, but we need to grow in a sustainable way that will not bring a debt burden on us. So that is what we are seeing. We are growing too fast. We are doing projects that are way beyond our means, and that is why we are borrowing more. And we may have to find a way to borrow sustainably. Debt is good, but when you are borrowing, you borrow within a repayment limit. So as you borrow and you cannot pay your debt, it becomes a problem.
Right, and speak about debt. So the finance minister announced yesterday that our debt stock had reached 742 billion cedis as of the end of June this year. That's a 160 billion cedi spike from the same time the previous year. And this they're attributing to the depreciation of the cedi in the last few months, because most of our debts, more than half of it, was external. Your thoughts on this update from the finance minister?
This will not be surprising because our debt portfolio favors more of the external borrowing, and when our currency is seeing depreciation, we will have to see the spike in the debt levels. So probably as we have to strategize again, if we have the opportunity in future to borrow, to see how we will the weight we will put on where to raise the money from, and that should guide us. If our currency strengthens, the situation will turn, and that's what we are all hoping for.
But based on the budget that was read, do you get the indication that we are going to see a turnaround in the situation to do with the currency, since it's being blamed for the spike in the debts that we've seen over the past few months?
The question is, who caused the currency to devalue? So your currency will devalue when you have high inflation. High inflation comes about when you print more money into the system. So in during the COVID-19 era, the central bank printed money for government to spend, which brought a hike in inflation, and inflation leads to depreciation of our currency. What did the government use the COVID money for? So it's the government who caused it, not anybody, government and central bank. So we all have to, it's their own policy decisions that has brought us to this far. I'm not doing politics, I'm just speaking as we have it in you follow theory and then practice. This is what caused the situation, and the government must address it. So in a way to address it, that's why IMF is asking central bank not to finance any government project. Government must also live within its means. And this is what we require. If the government is able to live within its means and cut down expenditures we are discussing, the situation will turn around. But if I look at what we have done with the budget and what we have read, I don't see a major turnaround in the near future. It may take us about 2 years to be able to recover from what has happened in the economy.
Well, and based on the presentation yesterday, do you think that we are on the right track on the path of recovery as is being touted by the government?
The path of recovery will be, I mean, it's a little bit difficult because expenditure levels are still high. Our debt is still, even after the debt exchange programs, both domestic and external, our debt to GDP is still at a distress level. That is 70.6%. We need to get to about between 55 and 65% of debt to GDP. And from all indications, we cannot achieve this. Government is even planning to borrow 54.9 billion by the end of the year. This is going to increase the debt levels, and this is going to worsen the situation. So that is why we find that if our debt levels are increasing, the currency devaluation or depreciation is going to worsen, and is going to affect the confidence level. So government may have to plan, be on a tight level planning, and reduce expenditure very, very low to a level that we're able to help turn around. The medicine, or let me put it, the IMF strategy they have given to us is to help us find a little bit of sustainability or bring some form of stability from now to the program ends. Next year, when we start paying the interest on our loans, we will see the real impact on the economy, and it's going to be very dire if it continues this way.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Williams Pepa, Associate Professor of Finance at Andrews University. Thank you for joining us here on The Marketplace. It's time to talk tech. Stay with us. All right, and join us on Zoom, Samuel Dewuna, who is the founder of Tech Focus 24, over this big news that broke at the beginning of the week, heightened agitations on social media concerning high mobile data prices. Thank you so much for joining us for Let's Talk Tech. And so what's the story? What are the concerns with mobile data charges?
Thank you very much, Darrell. I hope my microphone is on.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Good afternoon to listeners. Of course, so those of us who have followed what is going on social media, we all are aware that this report that was put out by cable.co.uk, that Ghana has the third lowest data prices in Africa, and second in West Africa, and of course 33rd in the world. Quite a number of Ghanaians, seem not to have come to terms with the claims of the report, particularly because we have seen recently data price increases on MTN in particular. And of course, we all know that MTN has the biggest, number of customers in Ghana. So anything that happens, it's like when MTN sneezes, everybody catches a cold. And so when there's a price increase on MTN, it's as if everybody else in Ghana is suffering. So they don't seem to believe that. I believe that what Ghanaians are missing is the context within which the price increases are happening on MTN. And if you look at the report that has come, it shows clearly that in spite of the fact that there are price increases on MTN, still Ghana is maintaining its position as one of the countries with the least, the lowest data prices in Africa. And that is just a fact, because this report was not turned out by any Ghanaian company or any political party or anything for anybody to suspect. Cable.co.uk has been doing this for years, and almost every time we do, Ghana is still among the lowest. And so we can talk about why the MTN situation is what it is, but then I'm saying that there's no justification in anybody doubting what the report said. So I think that is the report that triggered the agitation on social media.
Well, but are these legitimate concerns by consumers, and what's been the reason given by the telcos for the sort of charges we have for mobile data right now?
So justification, yes and no. Yes, because if you live in a country where incomes are not rising at the same level as inflation, then of course any price increase, whether it's whether utility, water, or whatever it is, telecoms or anything, definitely you are going to have complaints. People are going to complain. So to that extent, yes, it is justified. But the other side of the coin that we need to look is that our telecoms industry has been managed in such a way that we've gotten to a place where it is sliding almost into a monopoly. And you see, we need to be frank about it. If we are not frank about all of these things, we will sit down, and then very soon we are going to go back to the days of P&T when we had only one telecoms company in this country, and because of that, people had to queue for a single telephone line. It was fraught with all kinds of corruption and cronyism. You have to take months before you can even get a single telephone line in your house. Now we have market liberalization within that industry, and so now it has been democratized. But then it is gradually sliding back into a monopoly. Look at it. So look at the situation we have. All the big players we had in this market have left the market. I don't know whether Ghanaians are paying attention to this. Vodafone is gone. Airtel is gone. Tigo is gone. Glo is gone. Everybody who came into this market is gone because the market is becoming difficult for them to survive in. It has taken only one player, of course. So some of the things that led to this situation is all because of government policy. You know, government they have a policy where you are selling spectrum that only one person could afford it. That should tell you that is not the route to go. But government went ahead and sold the spectrum anyway, and then gave advantage to one player. And today we have what we have. This didn't happen from 2015. Today we have what we have. And that thing has to be corrected, Darren. It has to be corrected. You have to take a government that is bold and say that let's take a step to correct. And that is what the government has done. We have named MTN and SMP, so a significant market power, which means that MTN's prices have to be controlled because MTN is the only market player now who can afford to lower prices to whatever level they want and just price out every player in this market. And that is not what we want as a country. And that is what the government is trying to do. That's what the policymakers are trying to do. That look, let's reset the entire industry. So let's control the price of MTN. Let's not allow MTN to price so low to make it difficult for other players to survive. And that's what we have done. That is the intervention we have done. So it is a sacrifice that all of us have to make to save the industry from collapse, or from sliding into a monopoly, and then to protect the consumer's right to choice. Because that is something that ITU supports. It's an ITU principle. And once you see that one player is becoming independent of the market, and we are gradually sliding into a monopoly, control that player so that the consumers are not denied the right of choice. And so that is what is happening. I mean, Ghanaians need to understand some of these things and then go behind this, and until such a time that we believe that the market is really, we have really done a reset, and we are sure that each player can now survive, and then our right to choice is not denied us. That's what is happening, Darren.
All right. Final question. We have just about a minute. And so on Monday, a hashtag dissolve NCA board was trending on my Twitter feed. And so right now, have we heard anything from the NCA on the matter?
Well, NCA issued a statement to say that, look, you know, Darren, some of these things, I need to say it carefully. I think that NCA should have owned this narrative about why the prices are being increased from the get-go. Because anytime there's price increase, You hear government actors saying that it is MTN doing it. They are taking advantage of Ghanaians. They are trying to make the government look bad. Meanwhile, NCA was fully aware that it was upon their directive that MTN was increasing price. So I would have thought that NCA would rise up to the occasion, own the narrative, and then educate Ghanaians about why it is necessary to do this. So if somebody is saying that NCA should be dissolved, maybe because of those things that initially they made it look like it was MTN that is not being fair to Ghanaians. But now they are now trying to own it. I think that if you say NCA should be dissolved, then of course maybe the whole government should be dissolved. Why? Because it is a government policy. NCA are just policy implementers. Okay. It's a government policy. At the end of the day, it was even the minister who announced that MTN was being made an SMP. So why are we not saying that the ministry should be dissolved?
All right, we've got to go. We'll continue this conversation because it's still unfolding. Samuel Dowuna, lead founder for Tech Focus 24. Appreciate your time this afternoon on the marketplace. And that's our program, everyone. There is more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. DPHA discounts compensation claims of ex-casual workers, cautions against planned demo. Also, debt restructuring has been crucial to Ghana's economic recovery. That's according to the finance minister. myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for watching. We're back same time tomorrow.